Here I am, folks. That's right. I'm back. It's your man, Adolphus A.D. Moore. However, I am coming from Fairfax, Virginia. Just came back from the Texans against the Ravens contest at M&T Bank Stadium. I'm only going to say that a few times because M&T is not paying for a free spot on this little deal. But maybe they would after this great and auspicious program. But anyway, yep, we back. Season number. Well, whatever. This the 2023 season. The Houston Texans fall to the Baltimore Ravens today, 25-9. And you know what, folks? It's the score is not indicative. Halftime 7-6, and the game got away from the Texans really in that third quarter. Texans were 3-0. They didn't do anything with the opening kickoff in the third quarter, and after that, it was doomsday. But before I bring in my man from the Gilmer Mirror, and we're gonna get ready to chop this thing up. We're gonna hear from Coach D'Amico Ryan. We're gonna hear from the defensive player Jonathan Gennard. But in the meantime, the guy that makes this all possible, and again for the second year in a row, I want to just say thank you. But let's go ahead and let Mr. Ross tell you what how good he can be for you.
Hello, I'm Ken Ross with the Ken Ross Insurance Agency. There are certain things that are important in our lives: our health, our safety, and our loved ones. With over 40 years of experience, I've seen just how important insurance can be. I value the importance of being a part of my community and being there when they need me. Insurance is important everywhere, but being here in South Texas, it is absolutely essential. From flood, home, auto, and life insurance, let the Ken Ross Agency be your agency of choice.
That is right, folks. The Ken Ross Agency, 281-235-5952. Give them a call and tell you what, and tell him AD Moore sent you, and tell him we appreciate his sponsorship of the AdMax Corner. Again, that's the Houston Texans go down to the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore today against 25-9. And while I'm at it, let me go ahead and bring my man in here. There he is, Elwin Henderson. Gilmer Mirror, you were in San Antonio last night. We're going to get to that a little bit later why you were in San Antonio. But your initial thoughts on the Texans today?
Well, at halftime, I said, man, we're way ahead of where I thought we'd be. Just excellent defense in the first half. I think a lot of it in the second half was youth. Obviously, some blown assignments, some missed coverages and things that happened in the second half. But all in all, I felt pretty good once the game was over, and I saw a lot of positives.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, like I said, it was 7-6 at halftime. The Baltimore Ravens, let's face it, it was a typical NFL first game, particularly for a team that none of his starters, primarily the starting quarterback and a lot of his key players, didn't play any during the preseason. I mean, they practiced. And you saw that because the fact that I think I put out around about the 12-minute mark of the fourth quarter, just to show you how well precision this game was. There had been 21 total penalties between the team, and at that point they had 184 yards worth of penalties between them.
Wow.
So let's face it, they were sharp as hell, man. They were sharp as a tack out there, and it showed, but. Some pluses and some minuses. The one takeaway, and I want to get this out right now. They got caught C.J. Stroud a couple of times on some situations, but you know what? He's gonna live and he's gonna learn from it. But I tell you what, there was not a person in that locker room that don't have the confidence that this kid is gonna be their quarterback of the future. I think all of them to a man, because Jonathan Gennard was going to have his say so in a little bit about the whole overall game and so forth. But before we do that, let's go ahead and listen to Coach D'Amico Ryans and talking about particularly that third quarter and what happened.
The third quarter got away from you. What do you have to do now, offensively, to try to, really to save yourself from the defense being exposed?
It's the same. When we come out in the second half, right, we have to be able to move the ball, and that's where we started to sputter. We kind of hurt ourselves a lot, and we can't hurt ourselves versus a good team. Right? The Ravens are a good team. They played good ball today, and we can't help a good team, and that's what we did today. We helped a good team, and you're not going to win games in this league like that.
Coach D'Amico, Coach Ryan was absolutely right, Elvin.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, as good as D'Amico.
The third quarter got away from you.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach. We're gonna take it from the studio now. But really, I mean, I think Coach put his hand on it.
Yeah.
You can't help a good team. I mean, you already playing against a good team. And there's no use of playing against a good team and then turn around and play against yourself.
Yep.
And in the second half, that's literally what happened. Texans got the opening kickoff in the third quarter and didn't do squat with it. And the Baltimore Ravens came back and scored 2 touchdowns. In fact, not only scored a touchdown, the second touchdown because another one of those penalties again. Mm-hmm. They came back and got a 2-point conversion. So, ostensibly speaking, the game very well ended it could have ended very well in the end of the third quarter because they couldn't put it together. They struggled, and everything that we hoped that wouldn't happen, it did happen. But the thing about it, the Texans are not afraid, even though with C.J. Stroud being back there, they were not afraid to going for fourth down. And right. I think to their credit, and I think to CJ's credit, he's going to live and learn. I mean, all this eventually will be blurred or be a stamp in his memory. They will become a blurb, and I guarantee you that's going to be some fourth downs they're going to go for. And guess what? They're going to go for it. They will be very successful. Hopefully, they'll be better than 60 and 70% successful in what they had tonight. But the Ravens took advantage of a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
They took advantage of a rookie quarterback, and they exposed him. And it's pretty much what we expect. I don't care. And Bobby Slowik could have. I don't care what kind of plays. There's no need to really trying to protect him and shield him. At this point, I mean, he got sacked 5 times. The Texans got 3 sacks on Lamar Jackson, and they missed a few others. But in essence, just mark it down. This is 1/17 of a season.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's 1/17 of a season. And I guarantee you, next week when they have their home opener against the Indianapolis Colts, they won't be the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to make us remember. Oh wow, he going to make us forget about Lamar Jackson. I don't see that happening. Now, if that happens next week, ooh, man, we're going to have something to talk about. We're going to have something to talk about, man. But, Elwin, overall, I mean, let's face it, it was a sloppy contest. It was.
And again, you talked about that a little earlier about the Ravens changing offenses and the starters not really playing. That's the problem. That's what we face in that first game, because even if the starters play for most teams, they don't play that much during the preseason, especially with us now limited to 3 preseason games instead of 4. But I still love the fact that we're down to 3 preseason games. But, I really believe that these first games, you see a lot of those penalties and a lot of the lack of cohesiveness because the players have got to get used to playing, which they haven't done in preseason. So, I think you're going to see things, just like you said, differently next week. And I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say that I think the Houston Texans will defeat the Indianapolis Colts next week because they don't have a Lamar Jackson. And I think they got enough positives to build off of, and that they can learn enough by seeing what they did wrong in the film to get right on the practice field next week and be ready for the Colts next Sunday.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, and in fact, that's the unique. That's the thing. And I'm gonna let Jonathan Grenard. I'm not even trying to speak for him because I already got him here. I'm gonna let Jonathan Grenard, talk about and the discipline and how well effective they were against Lamar today.
The whole mentality all week. At the end of the day, we understand we could probably beat those dudes one-on-one individually, but at the same time, we rushing one of the most dynamic players, if not the most dynamic player in the NFL with the ball in his hand. So I just think we were outpowering them at times, and I think that's the main thing where we got our sacks early, kept him on his feet a lot. You see him screaming around the pocket because when he senses pressure at least a little bit, he's going to get moving a little bit. But that was our main thing, like you alluded to. That was our main priority this week, is keeping him in pocket, being more powerful than these guys, and see who's going to be more physical at the end of the game.
Yep, like you said, he was right, man. They
Yep.
really, I mean, from a rush lane perspective, they were very disciplined. I thought they were disciplined because let's face it, and now when this is sort of Lamar Jackson, even though he's going in his 5th year now,
mm-hmm.
that was shades of Lamar. Because of the discipline that the Texans, that front four put in, how they sort of kept their lane discipline. As soon as he saw a little lane, Lamar sort of pulled that ball down and start to take off, and did take off. I mean, we saw glimpses of the old Lamar Jackson in that aspect, but I think that Lamar Jackson, what they want to do, and let's face it, Flowers was his go-to, was his security blanket today because he didn't have his tight end today. They were out, and so really Flowers became his go-to blanket today. That was his big go-to receiver until he went out injured. And so that was and this is the other unique thing. The other thing about it, there was some injuries today, and the Texans offensive line, which we thought was going to be going to be the sort of like the Rock of Gibraltar of this team, particularly with CJ Stroud being a rookie quarterback back there. Man, and they lost their right tackle today. George Fant went out, and immediately after he went out, the Texans on what they call a critical 3rd down situation. The Baltimore Ravens exploited. They blew up the left tackle.
They did.
They can't. I mean, poor kid. I felt sorry for him because this was a critical 3rd down play, and Baltimore, they came off that edge so quick, man. I almost thought, man, wait a minute. Did somebody need to give him an invitation, let him know, hey, you're in the ball game now, because he blew off. I mean, they blew off the line so fast off that right. The left knee came off that right side so fast, man, and sacked CJ Stroud and just whatever. Every time, and it seemed every time that the Texans had any kind of momentum, any kind of inertia going forward, and that was, the Texans for the most part, it was hit and miss. I mean, I thought for a while there, CJ started to get a little some momentum going with Nico Collins.
Yes.
And on a couple of those drives that wound up being converted to field goals. And this is one thing we're gonna say this right now. Those field goals are gonna have to start becoming touchdowns.
Absolutely. You can't get in the red zone 3 times and get 9 points.
And then on top of all that, one of those red zones happened to be from a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean the defense put themselves, put themselves. Did they play an absolutely flawless game? No, because they didn't turn anybody back when they got them in the red zone. But they were able to get the Texans the ball and put them in position to do something better than come away with 3 points, and they did not come away. They didn't convert, and so opportunities going. Texans going to have to be a lot more proficient, a lot more prophetic about it, and I think that I feel that and here's the thing they said about CJ, and I mean, and these guys to a person say, CJ, and everybody was remarking about how his calmness after a play got blown up, and I mean the players to a person were saying that, hey man, this kid nothing fazed him, and and he was asked about that in his presser, and he said, "There's nothing else I can do about it. Play is over with."
Yeah. Yeah.
The play is over with. I mean, I can sit up there and cry about it, but it's too late. It's over with. So we might well just keep on going. And so I think the kid showed some moxie in that aspect when he's quiet spoken and he's humbly spoken. But I think what, and I think that's gonna turn. Elvin, I think realistically that's gonna turn. I think you're gonna see, and he's quiet spoken now, but I think you're gonna start to see that turn. You're gonna start to see that edge. And I think the more we see it, the better it's gonna. I think it's a plus all the way around for CJ, for this Texans offense, for this team, for that edge. And like you say, I blow it off. There's nothing else I can do. But we gonna, the next play is what I got to look forward to. Okay, good. I appreciate that. So in that aspect, Elvin, 25-9 could have been worse. Yep. But it would. But you know what? It was about what we expected. At least that was about what I expected.
Me too.
That's about pretty well. And yeah, they met the point spread was like 9.5 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
So they beat the line. The Vegas was right on that one. But okay. But we take the Texans take their lumps now, but I guarantee you eventually they're gonna make the house pay, and the house will start paying. So
yeah, I agree with you. And I tell you what, AD, the biggest takeaway from this game for me today is CJ Stroud had to be nervous. First game starting in the NFL as a rookie, knowing he already had some injuries to that offensive line. But the kid never looked rattled the whole game. He looked like he had ice in his veins, and he's only going to get better from today.
Yeah. I mean, little do we know, we can't get inside his head, and I'm glad we can't. But I'm glad we can't. I'm glad we can't get inside a whole lot of people's head because anyway, I'm glad somebody can't get inside my head, boy. I guess they.
Me too. On.
It'll probably be scary walking around there. And never mind. Let's go back. But anyway, but next week, yeah. But like I say, there was there's enough positive to make and enough positives for folks that want to be at NRG Stadium next week. Like I said, I think there was some connections there was some rhythm that CJ started developing with Nico Collins. There was some synergy that he started to develop with Robert Woods. I would like to see Tank Dell get more on the offensive side of the ball today. I think that, and one thing D'Amico said, it's some things that we got to clean up. But like I say, this is a work in progress. I don't think nobody was under any illusions that we were going to be looking at a Super Bowl representative, at least not on one side of the ball. And as far as the Ravens was concerned, I think the fans were glad to see Odell Beckham finally got his first catch after about several months after going down in the Super Bowl. Odell Beckham was back. In fact, what was sort of unique, the Odell Beckham, it was two LSU Tigers because he was going up against Darryl Stingley, and he drew a PI on Darryl Stingley down there. And I found that a little bit. I said, well, we got two LSU Tigers going at it on also. But you know what? Hey, that's what you expect. But in that case, that particular play didn't necessarily hurt him. Like I say, I'd rather give up the PI than give up the touchdown. And so he eventually, Odell eventually came out, and I think he had a couple of receptions today. So, interesting crowd. I mean, my first time at the M&T Bank Stadium, that was a very fervent crowd. Sitting there and a sea of black and I mean that them dog black gray and that purple, that was nothing but a sea of purple
Oh,
and dog black. Man, and so it was interesting. They were into it, and there was some very interesting sights to see sitting in the press box. It almost reminded you of being at a FedEx Field, where that press box is. Sort of
right.
sitting down low there, and you've been to FedEx Field, and you sort of sit low, and you're right up on the fans.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are literally right up on the fans. I mean, you can you just sit there, and it's almost like you can just sit there and start a conversation with them if the windows weren't there.
True. That's
So,
talking about Odell for a second. I got the notes that the Texans always send at the end of the game from the quotes. And the one thing that jumped out to me that I was glad to see, in one of the questions he was asked, he said, I just feel very blessed that I can be back in this game. And I'm thankful to God I was able to make it back. He gave God the credit for, being able to get back on the field. And he mentioned the fact that he has this little son now and said that was huge for him as well. And, I never thought Odell was a bad guy, but it was really impressive looking to see what he had to say in that post-game press conference.
hey, man, well, here's the thing. You and I have been covering this game a long time, and all it takes is one play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one we promises. We've seen promises dashed on one play.
Oh, yeah.
And to see guys be able to come back, and particularly because I firmly believe that he probably would have been the MVP of Super Bowl 56.
Oh, there's no doubt. No doubt. And, another talking about injuries that was sad when I saw it and got those post-game quotes, DK Dobbins tore his Achilles and he's gone for the year.
Yeah.
And never that happen, even to an opposing player, even of a team you hate, you never want to see that happen to a guy.
Well, here's the thing about it, man, and the way the training camps are now, and so I think there's those soft tissue injuries are more prevalent now.
Yep.
And it's just going to depend on, we just got to work through it.
Yep.
Hey, before we could turn you loose, I want to let you talk the game you covered last night. But let's hear this for my sponsor real quick before we get ready to turn it over to Chris Gardner and the folks talking sports. Willie Gibson, who was up in Cleveland Stadium today as the Cleveland Browns, took hold of the Cincinnati Bengals. They'll be discussing that game in about 7 minutes over on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. But if you have not subscribed to the Ad Max Corner, please subscribe. If you have not subscribed to the Houston Roundball Review, subscribe. In fact, subscribe to both of them. Okay, we need the subscriptions, and folks, if you're talking about in particular as far as the Houston Roundball Review, the statistics, Houston Roundball Review has had over 4 million views.
Wow.
Think about that.
Impressive.
It's impressive, and that's what I say. So you know what, folks, and guess what? I can use some more sponsors on the Ad Max Corner. We can use some more sponsors on the Houston Roundball Review. But in the meantime, talking about sponsors, let's hear from our sponsor again.
Hello, I'm Ken Ross with the Ken Ross Insurance Agency. There are certain things that are important in our lives: our health, our safety, and our loved ones. With over 40 years of experience, I've seen just how important insurance can be. I value the importance of being a part of my community and being there when they need me. Insurance is important everywhere, but being here in South Texas, it is absolutely essential. From flood, home, auto, and life insurance, let the Ken Ross Agency be your agency of choice.
That's right, folks. The Ken Ross Agency, 281-235-5952. And I also got to get, I know some of y'all, we not generally just in the local South Texas, but I guarantee you, He can answer your calls. I need to get the 800 number out there as well. But remember, 281-235-5952. Give the Ken Ross Agency a call and tell him A.D. Moore Gabe told you to give him a call, and he would take care of all of your insurance needs. Elwin, as we get ready to wrap this up, we got a couple more minutes, about 3 minutes to be exact. You were in San Antonio, and I know this is a unique game to you because University of Texas, San Antonio, Jeff Traylor was going up against one of his former students at Texas State. Give us a quick rundown on what happened.
Yeah, that was a heck of a game. I wanted to go cover it because G.J. Kinney, who is the Texas State coach, and of course in an FBS school now, just like Jeff Traylor is, was our quarterback of the Gilmer Buckeyes in 2006. And I wanted to be there because it was a very special game. And of course, two of our former Buckeye assistant coaches are on Jeff Traylor's staff. His brother Kurt Traylor's the offensive line coach, and Matt Turner. We haven't really figured out what Coach Turner does, other than I asked him a couple of years ago, was he coaching the coaches? And he said, I don't really know what I'm doing, but pretty much he's coaching the coaches. And of course, G.J. Kinney, great guy, doing well for himself. And I wanted to go down and cover that game. And of course, went down on the field pregame, which we're still allowed to do in college football, and got a chance to talk with G.J. just a second and do a selfie with him, and did one with Coach Kurt Traylor and also with Coach Turner. And in the post-game press conference, I'll tell you this in our last minute or so here, just everybody died out laughing. I asked Jeff, in his wildest dreams back in 2006, would he have ever thought that he and G.J. Kinney, his quarterback that year, would both be coaching FBS schools and would be opposing head coaches on the opposite sidelines? And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to tell you what. Yeah, I knew G.J. would be. He said he played 5 years in the NFL, and he was with the Philadelphia Eagles for 3 of those 5 years and got some action, but not a lot. But he said, and on top of that, everybody busted out laughing. He said, he is as good looking as Joe Namath. And he said, I'm just a high school simpleton coach.
Well, tell you what.
So it ended up 20-13. I'm sorry, 20-13 UTSA. So the mentor got the best of the mentee.
Unlike being in Birmingham, Alabama, where the mentee took advantage of the mentor.
Oh, hook 'em horns.
Yeah. Anyway, Elwin.
Jeff, one more real quick thing. You know, there had been talk before this season all over the state that Sark or Jimbo Fisher, whoever got fired from their university first, that Jeff Traylor was the name that kept coming up. Well, after last night's win in Tuscaloosa by the Longhorns, Sark is probably good for 6 or 7 years now doing what he did. Jimbo is on the edge after playing against a really bad team. And I heard today that with Baylor being 0-2, Jeff Traylor's now being considered for a possible replacement of Aranda and Baylor next year if Jimbo survives.
Well, tell you what, as we get, well, you know what, that we would discuss that. Hey, look to see you next Sunday.
Look forward to it.
NRG. Hey, folks, as we get ready to wrap this up, want to thank everybody for listening. If you get ready to stay tuned for Chris Gardner on the Houston Roundball Review station, Folks Talking Sports. And as we get ready to wrap it up, again, the Houston Texans go down to the Baltimore Ravens, 25-9. We'll be coming back next week after the Texans against the Indianapolis Colts. Until then, this is your man, Adolphus A.D. Moore, signing off, and get ready for Chris Gardner and all the rest of them on Folks Talking Sports. Folks, I am out, and we are gone. Elwin, I'll see you next week, man. Appreciate you, bro.
You bet, buddy.